Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I got a distress email last night from a lady named Tanya, and she wanted to know how to use her sewing machine. Her mom had bought her one at a yard sale, and she's never had it out of the box. So I thought I'd just do a quick overview on how you can use your sewing machine. So basically, this is just an old Kenmore, and it's got the free arm, so I can move this out of the way. We'll need to do that anyway, so you can get into the guts here and see it a little bit. But basic features of any sewing machine will be your top thread, your bobbin thread underneath, your tension knob, which determines how tight your stitches are. You generally do not need to touch that under any circumstances if your machine is working properly. You've got your stitch selector, which just tells you what kind of stitches your machine will offer, whether it's straight and zigzag, basting, smocking, blind hem, different stitches like that. Your stitch length, which tells you how many stitches per inch you want. If you're just basting something, like you're going to make like a ruffle, something you're going to want to pull and gather, you use a long stitch length, like a 6 stitches per inch. If you're stitching something more permanently, you'd want like 12 stitches per inch, or maybe even more than that. Or if you're tacking down a button, you don't want this to move at all. This controls these little metal teeth that are under your needle that pull the fabric through your machine. So basically, your stitch length controls that, and just makes your fabric go quicker or slower. And also, you've got this wheel on the side of your machine. Let me just turn that around here so you can see. This wheel here is your hand wheel. You'll use that at the beginning and end of each stitch to kind of control and lift your needle up out of your fabric before you try to remove the fabric so you don't break your needle. This is the on-off switch. They're generally located right here. And under here is the plug, and it's got 2 cords coming out of it, because one cord goes to the wall and the other cord goes to the pedal that's underneath your machine that you step on to operate it, to make it go and stop. All right, now also on the back of the machine you have the lever that lifts the presser foot. The presser foot is the thing under here that looks like a ski. And this will lift it and lower it, and you'll need to use that at the beginning and end of each stitch, so you can remove your fabric. And sometimes you need to lift your presser foot so you can turn your fabric if you're going around a corner. Now, hopefully you have a manual with your machine, but if you don't, go online and Google your make and your model number plus the words sewing machine manual, and you can usually print one off. What you really need is your threading instructions if you don't know how to thread your machine. So this didn't come with a manual. I went online and I found a machine that was close enough, and I was able to thread it. So let's thread the machine and I'll show you how that works. Actually, I'll show you how to wind a bobbin too, since you might not know how to do that if you've never used a sewing machine before. Don't be afraid of it though. I mean, try it, play with it, get used to it. This is where our bobbin thread comes from. Alright, but I'm going to show you how to wind a bobbin, and I'm going to use an empty bobbin here, and I'll just wind it with white because I always need extra bobbins of white thread. And what you're going to do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, I think, let you see a little bit better what we're doing here. Oh, sorry about that. I don't want to make anybody seasick. Alright, so we're going to put our thread up here on one of these sticky outy things, little spindles, I guess you'd call them. We're going to go around this little tension guide. So basically it's like a little knob here on top of your machine. On my other machine it's over here, but basically it's just a little cylinder with a little space for you to slide your thread in, and that just keeps the tension. Make sure you have an accurate tension on your spool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the middle between these 2 legs of the spool, and I'm going to come out one of these holes. And then I'm going to pull it across the hole on the bottom. Now I'm going to bring this over to my bobbin winder here on the end. Can you see that? And I'm going to push it right down. So now that thread is locked on there. Can you see that? I think you can. Let me just move it over a little bit, make sure you can. Alright, now I'm going to snap this little leg up close to that, and that's going to sense and tell the machine when the bobbin's full. And now I've got the hand crank, and I'm actually holding the outside of this wheel and turning the inside towards myself, and that basically is just going to disengage the needle so it just doesn't go crazy over there. It might run a little bit, but it shouldn't run too much. And now I'm going to press on the pedal under the machine, and the bobbin's going to wind. You can see the white thread is going on to that silver bobbin right there. And you want to fill it all the way up so that you won't have to refill it later on until it's absolutely done. Looks like my thread's going to fly off the spool over there. Alright, so now we get a nice full bobbin. I'm going to right now go to my wheel and I'm going to hold the outside wheel and turn the inside wheel away from myself to lock it back in so that needle's going to work when I need it to. And I'm going to cut my extra thread that's underneath because I don't want that tangling up my machine. You see that there? I snip the extra thread off and then I'm going to cut that so now I have a nice wound bobbin. So now I'm going to show you how you put it in the machine. Alright, so under here you've got this little area called the shuttle where your bobbin goes. I think it's called the shuttle. Please leave a comment and let me know if I'm misquoting something, misnaming something. And then we've got this little bobbin case. And your bobbin just drops right in there. And then you pull this thread right through the slot and around, and it's going to kind of get held in there just like that. See? That seems a little loose, but oops, it does seem a little loose. Alright, so if I just hold it still, it should just hang, but if I shake my hand, it should slide down, and I just knocked it out of the case. So I'm just going to pull that back through. And then we're going to put it in the machine. I'm just going to reload it here. I'll do it right over here. I think you can see better. I just hold it right in front of the machine. So I'm pulling it right through that little, there's like a little cut in the side of the bobbin case. I'm going to pull it through until it comes right over this, through this little window here. I'm just going to snip down that thread. It's kind of a waste, but. Alright, now there's like a little lever on the back. You want to hold that up so your bobbin doesn't fall out. And then there's a little kind of finger sticking up here on the top of the bobbin case. And I'm just going to slide that in, and there's like a little divot. You can see it clearly if you're at your machine and you kind of look from underneath. And that's going to snap right into place and lock in. Now we're going to thread the top of the machine. And I'm just going to tip this up so you can see what I'm doing here. And this is where you want to look at the illustration in your manual because it's going to show you exactly the path that the thread needs to go through the first guide. Go down through the discs at your tension knob, which is going to control how tight your stitches are. Please don't touch that unless you absolutely have to, because that's usually what you do to frig up your machine, is you turn that knob and then you get your tension all messed up. You'll end up with gobs of thread on the top or on the bottom of your fabric, and it's going to be a mess, and it's so hard to put it back right again. So please don't touch that knob unless you absolutely have to. I'm going to go through this guide right here, and then down through the guide right below it. I'm going to go in that little guide there, and at the top of my needle I have this other little wire guide there, and then I like to snip my thread before I try to attempt putting it through the eye of my needle because I have a hard time with that. You can get needles that are easier to thread, that you just kind of like pull. There's like a gap in the side and you can just kind of pull the thread along that. I don't have one of those though. And oh, I got it tangled a little bit. And then you can lift up your presser foot and pull the thread to the back. Now I've got got it tangled up a little bit. That happens sometimes if you have a lot of thread you're working with. There you go. So now I pull this between the gap in my presser foot and pull it to the back. Now to load my bottom thread here, I'm just going to turn that down so you can see what's going on the bobbin here. I'm turning the wheel by hand. This is my hand. It's going over to the wheel. It's going to turn the wheel towards myself. And look what happens underneath the machine. The thread is swooping over and lifting up the bobbin thread. And now I'm going to use a pair of scissors, or you can use a pencil or anything that can fit in there to pull those threads to the back. So now I've got both threads coming out of the bottom of the presser foot here. So I've got the thread that's coming out of the bobbin, and I get the thread that's coming up through the machine. They're going to lock together when I sew my material. So if I put some material in there, there's a little lever in the back that lowers and raises the presser foot. Now lower my presser foot. I am going to, let me just tip up a little bit here so you can see. I am going to turn my hand here, and turn this crank towards myself to put my needle in the fabric. Do that before you start any stitch. That way you won't end up having your top thread pull through your needle and have to rethread it again. Now I'm going to press my presser foot to go. I'll press my pedal to go. I'm going to push down this reverse lever so I can go backwards and lock my stitches. And then I'm just going to keep on sewing. I do that till I'm done sewing what I want to sew. Now when I'm done, I use the hand crank to pull my needle all the way up out of the fabric. I lift up my presser foot and I slide my fabric out. Now you probably have other presser foots that go to your machine, and sometimes you have a little lever on the back that you flick up and that drops the little ski thing out. You may have a little knob on the side to use. This one might actually, no, this one has a little knob that you unscrew to put your presser feet on. I have one upstairs that my other machine has a little like lever on the back that you use to take the feet on and off. And you generally have your little feet stored in a little cardboard box or something that came with your machine. And that's pretty much all there is to it. If you find that you're having big gathers of stitches on the bottom or the top of your fabric, I would recommend you go to a sewing machine outfit that services machines, and they can help you. Also, probably if you've just gotten your sewing machine out of storage, it's going to need to be oiled. There's generally little holes that you can drip oil into, but if not, just open up the side, look for anything that moves, and give that a couple drops of oil. I use the Singer machine oil. Any lightweight regular oil should be fine. But I can recommend the Singer oil. That seems to work really well. I would avoid the all-in-one oils. You just want a regular machine oil for that. And also another thing that happened with this machine when I got it, I couldn't get my stitches regulated at all. I kept having problems with it. I was having like 20 stitches an inch and I couldn't adjust it. Well, what I did was I just ended up turning this back and forth a few times, and then I actually turned this back and forth a few times, and I think I turned this all the way around, just loosening up those knobs made it work like a charm. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section of this video. If you're an experienced sewer and you know the answer to any of the questions people have asked, then go ahead and help them out and answer it, because really, this is YouTube. It's a community of people trying to learn, and we can all help each other learn a little bit more about our sewing machines. Let's get everybody sewing. Let's get every machine in the world working, shall we? Well, we can try. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope that helped you, Tanya. I hope you got your machine up and running now. Please let me know how you turned out. And until next time, happy crafting.